No, we aren't.
I don't know, but I have the Rekieta little.
I'm fixing that. Just a minute.
The logo.
How's it going there, Nicholas?
I'm just delicious.
He sounds clear as ever.
Aren't you glad?
None of you are. Your brother sounds clear.
Well, that's
Well, unfortunately, we're all in the same room, Nick. So
I mean, Nick sounds rich in tone, and
that's because I am a consummate professional. And just so you know, we are live.
We are live.
Well, then we should be irritating people listening to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, guys. We are boomering it up, as always.
Hey.
Here I am. Hello.
In the man cave.
Nice. We should have all come over to Nick's wonderful studio instead of the boomer pad.
I only have 2 mics. Only 2 mics.
But a great sounding mic.
Yeah, just a gorgeous mic.
Actually, it's a great sounding Nick.
Yeah. Okay, why are you trying to butter him up before we start this slaughter?
See, millennials think that it's all about, oh, you got to build me up, or oh, you're tearing me down. It's a factual statement. It's a good sounding Nick.
Wow. So we have Nick.
Hey, what's up, guys?
We have Blackface Nick.
Hey.
And Sir Tim needs no introduction. And Soder.
So are we calling this 3 against 1 against 1, or where's your brother laying on this? Aren't you the resident liberal in the room?
I guess.
That's what your brother defines, yes.
We, as is already established, I shirk labels, so, I'm just me.
Yeah,
don't define me.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, what he says. Okay, let's let him define himself. In all fairness, so what do you think about AOC?
What do you mean? What do I think about her?
What do you think about her? Do you think she's doing a great job? Do you think she's an idiot?
I don't think she's an idiot, but that's not for me to decide. I think she's driven. I think she's passionate. I think she's a wonderful person. Personally, I don't have any issues with her.
Okay, so we need no more definition.
Why?
We all know where he stands.
Because I think she's embodies the American dream, so to speak.
In what way?
She saw a change she wanted to make, and she did it. Regardless if you believe her stance or not, she saw action that needed to be taken. She took it.
Yeah, and that's one aspect of being an American, so I can respect that.
Right. I mean,
what about following the Constitution?
Oh man, I mean, what is the Constitution in Washington right now?
That's a legitimate conversation.
This is the brass knuckles chat, so
I can't hear Nick either.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just listening to you guys all be wrong about everything.
So Nick,
yeah, what's up?
This is the sound effect that you'll probably be hearing from time to time.
Tim, I hear that in my house every day, and
pretty much every time that I'm going to hear, well, here's why it's your fault that I'm this way.
Okay.
Very rough starts. We should probably roll the scene.
Is there going to be an intro? Are we doing an intro?
That's what I'm saying. This needs to be a little bit.
No, this is too much boomer. Well, we're streaming. This is the first time we've ever done a remote streaming. So forgive us, guys, but welcome to Out of the Darkness. We appreciate you guys coming along with us. You guys are here in the infancy of this channel, and we are growing thanks to you. Please don't give up on us, but we are figuring it out, and we will one day be professional. So this embodies the American dream. I once upon a time had a dream that I was going to be a YouTube failure, and we are accomplishing that dream right now as we speak. So, America. But we had a discussion somewhat this morning, whereas Sir Tim wanted to defend his version of conservatism and wanted to talk about how the Republican Party is the future of America.
Here's the context. So I had a friend last week. He's a former state representative, and off the cuff, he just made a one-line statement. He said libertarians are going to be the death of the Republican Party.
Oh, thank God. No better compliment. No better compliment than ruining.
You can jump in a second.
Well, I can jump in wherever I want. I got brass knuckles and distance, baby.
And after I got over the impetus being the get off my lawn guy, the Republican Party over with these bunch of young whippersnappers sort of thing. I thought, well, you could take that statement the way Nick just reacted to it is finally. You could look at it with the tone that the friend of mine was saying, this is a disappointment. And then I actually expanded it to, and this is why AOC was brought up, because I think you're seeing some parallels there in the Democrat Party. Slightly different, but you're seeing this. And I think the age group, the libertarians that are in this room are, this is really distracting at the cycle, but I'll keep driving on. There is sort of the up and coming generation that is starting now to have influence, and that's why you're seeing stuff like this. And eventually, you'll be in power. That's how it rotates. You had the World War II generation, then you have the boomers, then you have. I'm kind of in the lane right now. What are we? Generation X, I think.
I don't like labels.
Okay, yeah, that's a very millennial thing to say. I don't like labels. You're a millennial. So, but anyway, there's this transfer of power that happens over time, and I think we're kind of seeing some of those conversations now. So, it is a fair question. Maybe this is what should be the end of the Republican Party as you define, I understand, under the boomer model, right? So that's what you're saying. Overthrow the status quo model so that tomorrow we can be the status quo. And the generation behind us will tell us how long you are, and they will overthrow the status quo. And what next speech was he was going to wait for me to finally shut up.
Yeah, we're waiting for you.
That?
What? Yeah, I caught the vast majority of it. The question is, what is there of merit to preserve in the Republican Party? Like what value does it have to me as a proposition? What value do I take in? You will be the death of the Republican Party. Okay, well, so who cares?
Well, I know, but this isn't a defensive position. It's a question of race. So what values are you looking for? Are you even looking for something that's not a political party? What are the values that you want your government that you're exhorting and moving forward? And then we can contrast that related to the Republican Party.
Maximum freedom.
What does that mean?
It means maximum freedom.
No, that has to mean something, because you say maximum freedom, and maximum freedom is anarchy.
Okay, then I want anarchy, Tim.
Okay, but then you don't want government, correct?
No, but you're wrong though. Maximum freedom doesn't mean anarchy. There's a subtext to maximum freedom is that maximum freedom within some sort of structure of society that we agree to. But it's a principle of always pushing.
When you agree to it?
Everyone who's inside society, which is what we're doing now, right? The representative republic is an agreement that we are all part of. So it's but maximum freedom is the And this is the problem with defining libertarians as like a party or something like that. Libertarianism is just a concept that says we should always be pushing towards maximum freedom. In every decision that we make, are we maximizing freedom while achieving the desired result? And while, like, let's say your desired result is the absolute minimum crime, maybe you think that maximum freedom is a death penalty for everybody, but at least you're keeping the maxim in the back of your mind. So when we say maximum freedom, we mean maximum freedom while achieving a desired and preferably constitutional result of government. The problem with the Republican Party is that the problem with the Republican Party in general is that it has basically sold out. It has sold out these ideas of liberty for social. Mute your mic when you talk about it. No, I'm kidding. It has sold out these ideas of liberty and maximum freedom on the altar of some sort of social construct that was basically taken by the evangelical Christian community. It just was, and that you guys sold a ton of capital on things that have nothing to do with core freedom.
Okay.
Amen, Nick.
Yeah, but here's the thing. There's a broad swath of Republican Party too. Just like there's a broad swath of Democrats.
You know what?
Sorry,
Actually,
I got to mute, non-mute. Sorry. So there's I didn't hear anything that I disagreed with. So I think one of the presumptions here is that I am an elected person and I am in a specific party. So I'm a Republican who's a state representative. Okay? So when you engage in the work that I'm doing legislating under the Democrat Party, that's considered a group effort. Okay? So the arguments that you have when you say, this is what I want, this is what I want to do, and this is the way it should be, you started in the beginning that our government is kind of a collection of thoughts that move forward, that always should have the attitude of personal freedom being the primary goal as it relates to the Constitution. I don't disagree with that at all. But there's at some point where, I'm looking up on the wall where I wrote this like a month and a half ago, where the political has to meet the pragmatic if you are leading in a government system. You can't just do what you want. I mean, I always tell people if I could do what I wanted in Minnesota, if I were king and just could do what I want, things would be a better place here.
well, I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Well, but you would disagree because if you were the king, you would do it differently.
Yeah, if I was the king, things would be great. That's the main difference.
But that's the challenge that we have, and that's the challenge when you are in office. Is that the people that do think stuff like this, which I agree with you with what you said, but at some point you have to recognize in the state of Minnesota, in the House of Representatives, there's 134 of us, and I want to try and win. I want to beat every other 133 people in there. I want them all to agree with me and do everything they do. But guess what? They don't. Now we define it and distill it all the way down to two parties. So out of 134, you basically have two parties. That's why I say there's a broad spectrum in each of those two parties.
Yeah, but the most on the spectrum thing right now is the Republican Party.
And Democrat Party.
Well, I mean, I guess, but I don't care about them.
Right.
I'm not trying to fix them. They're irretrievably broken.
Well, and one of the fair arguments that I said this morning, maybe the Republican Party is irretrievably broken. That's kind of the comment that the Q had. So maybe it is.
Could be. I don't know.
So, folks, just so you know, kind of this hesitation isn't wonderment. It's trying to make all this new system coordinate. We're like trying not to step on each other's words and
you guys sound really a lot better right now. Something got fixed that is good.
We've been muting. Okay, he disconnected his mic and I put mine on mute, so he probably didn't even hear that.
No, we didn't.
I disconnected my mic.
Just keep it like that. We can hear you through. We can hear you through Tim's. Yep.
Okay, that might be the easiest thing to do then.
Well, that's what we're gonna do then.
Because I can hear you. Really, the only person we need to hear in headphones is Nick, and Nick needs to hear us. in the end.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I need to. I can make my points with you on mute.
He's off in Wonderland, so which is a great background. That should be a lesson in having a webcam background. That's a good one.
What, mine?
Yeah. That's good.
Oh yeah.
There's
You can't
something
see
like
all the
that.
whiskey. All the whiskey's back there.
Now I can.
Well, I'll drink to that.
So Q, jump in here. Q, you know,
I can't, Nick, I can't hear you.
I'm not saying anything.
Okay, never mind. I'm just used to you talking. So,
but we can put.
hear you.
I think maybe we need to put the Republican Party on trial because that's basically what libertarianism is in effect doing. Because as Nick said, whatever we call conservative side.
If we put the Libertarian Party or the Republican Party on trial today, this ends really bad for you.
But what does that mean? I mean, to give generalizations, the Republican Party is awful, which I'm assuming because you said this ends bad for me, that means there's things that I'm doing, which I perfectly could be doing some things that you don't like. I mean, we've had those discussions, but I am purposely standing in the Republican podium because that's who I am. So I don't have a problem defending it, if you will. I'm not going to back away from that. But when I hear things are terrible because of the Republican Party, things are going to end because of the Republican Party, the one argument that I will agree with that I do hear consistently is that the Republican Party has sort of softened and capitulated to the liberal movement, and we just do Democrat light is what we sometimes call it. We sound like we're different, but in the end, I think it was said earlier, we're just the other side of the same coin. And we have to get a whole coin.
But the question is, what do you think the Democrat light means?
The modern day Republican Party.
Okay.
The Democrat Party is the party of free candy for everybody. We are going to nationalize Hershey's, and we are going to give as much candy as possible. Okay? The Republican Party has come along and said, well, no, we can't give as much candy as you want. The Republican Party has essentially become the party of less candy. You can't win anything being the party of less candy. Who are you going to go with? So it's two sides of the same coin. Both operating outside of a fiscal budget, but yet we're being told they're the wrong ones, we're the right ones, when neither one of them are operating with any type of, number one, integrity, and number two, fiscal responsibility.
Very strong point for what we call the swamp, okay? So I don't disregard that. But what you are also doing is you're saying that all Republicans this and all Democrats that. Now, as the government stands, we have primarily a two-party system. And we could talk a plural system, but there's challenges with that as well, like if you look in England. But in a two-party system, that is, like I said, that's why I said I boldly stand on the podium of the Republican Party, but I don't disagree with that's what ends up happening a lot with policy, okay? But that's the Republican Party that is the swamp. And there is libertarians that are fighting against that swamp. There's people like me that I don't know what sort of conservatism I'm defined as anymore, because I've heard of neoconservatism, I've heard classical conservatism, I've heard all these different things. As you said, don't label me, I am who I am. But I don't disagree with the premise of all of that, okay? The challenge that I see, and I'm going to take the position that there's going to, I think one of two things are going to happen with the libertarian movement. It's either going to be to the detriment of a lot of things here in the United States, or they're going to end up, because eventually the people that think like you are going to be the ones that are going to be making the decisions. And I know you're going to say, I can't wait for that day. Okay? I am telling you, I'm going to come back and watch. Kind of like when you have a child and say, I can't wait until you have to be a parent someday. And then I'm going to watch and just giggle a little bit because we have, and it is way too complex of a system in the United States. I'm not defending it. What?
Push the mic away from me.
Oh, push the mic away from me. Okay. So we have way too complex a system, okay? But we do have a system and we have a process in our government. And one of the biggest parts of our process is it's supposed to be difficult to change things. Now, unfortunately, it's difficult to change things when incrementalism has moved us towards the liberal end for decades, okay? Depending on your perspective of history, it's been for over a century, okay? But when you get into actually legislating things, you cannot just say, well, we're going to do it my way, okay? And I absolutely love what the libertarians are saying is wrong with the United States because I don't disagree with them. I disagree a little bit because I think they take God out of the picture, and I'm a Christian, so I don't like that. But I'm willing to accept that, okay? But when it comes to actually changing things, this is the example that I gave with Obamacare when they said, just repeal Obamacare and let's move forward. I keep telling you, you get in, you sit on Health and Human Services and you look at what Obamacare is, what our healthcare system is, and all that sort of stuff. You don't just repeal anything, and it isn't because you don't show.
I got it isn't just because something getting a little bit of kickback there.
That's because Blackface me's mic is off or on. It's not muted.
You don't just are you able to mute it? Should be muted now. Okay, it's still working. You must be. Doesn't matter. Sorry for that, folks. You don't just remove something and say, well, this is better because what was there. You know, and I know people reel when you say repeal and replace because they think what you're saying is let's replace it with my version of what isn't good either, which, by the way, sometimes happens. Maybe it will happen. But you can't just repeal. You can't just pull things out. And the challenge that I give to the libertarians that talk to me is okay, go ahead and point out what's wrong, but then step forward and say what you're going to do. And you can't just say, we're going to give liberty to everyone. Because what does that mean? What do you legislate? If you say, well, we're going to start by not legislating anything, then you're not running government.
Because
that's a failed premise.
This is taking a way too kind road. Because you said brass knuckles, so I expect brass knuckles. Do you honestly believe that it is the government's job to provide health care to the citizens?
No.
So what is that all about? You just gave this grandstand speech about how we have to replace Obamacare with something else. Why is it the government's job to
care this?
I do.
You right me because
find Obamacare as a tax.
That's one aspect of it. You're like boiling down the most complex thing that's ever been brought in government into it's a tax, which it is. There is a tax in it. Okay, there's a tax component. But I'm saying to change law, you have to either legislate or go through the courts. But the courts, blah blah blah. So you're going to legislate here, okay? So you have to write a bill. If you're going to write a bill, because there is no, you could do what's called a delete everything. There's a delete everything where whatever you write in the bill is just stricken from law, okay? So in that case, when you say repeal, that's kind of what you do, okay? If you saw what Obamacare was, which when you say Obamacare, it's already enmeshed as to what was already there. It isn't like it just came up new and there's nothing else there before, which was not free market. I totally agree with you. But what I'm saying is you can say repeal it and let's move on. So write a bill that just repeals Obamacare. So tell me what that looks like.
No. The fastest way to derail an argument on principles is to say, well, do this. Tell me, give me a giant list of specific things that you would change right now, and then you're going to argue the semantics.
List. I just need to hear you because people say get rid of this, but they don't say how you're going to get rid of it.
But you are the one who brought up Obamacare.
Right. I don't like
so
Obamacare.
You're like
atrocious.
Listen, we want to hear what's wrong about this. So how do we change Obamacare? Like that's a very specific thing to go through here. When again, if we're talking, if we're remembering here, the premise of this discussion is whose fault everything is, which clearly it's yours specifically as a person, not even Republican or government related. Just you, Tim, have caused the death of the entire country. I just have to put that on your shoulders.
Good.
Because that's fair. That's how we argue fairly,
That's right.
But no, if we get wrapped up in, well, how do we change Obamacare? The problem is not Obamacare. The problem is that over the past however many years, conservatism has become, I don't care what it was, I don't care, there's no like supposed to be thing. Conservatism has become this it's a right-leaning Christian party. It just is. And that Christianity, which is, you know, I'm a Christian. I think many of the people in the room there, if not all of them, are Christian. It doesn't really matter. That's our belief system, and it should inform how we legislate or whatever. But it's become the goal of the legislation. So again, what I was talking about earlier is that Republicans have conceded ground, or not conceded ground, conceded credibility in pursuing these very Christian ideal things. And part of that gets stuck in this idea. Again, I hate bringing it always back to weed, but weed is such a common argument right now in almost every state, even states that have legalized it. And Republicans are like desperately holding on to this. We don't want legal weed. And yet there's no particularly good policy provision as to why they don't want legal weed. There's no logical argument to it on the principle of other things that we allow. It's just we don't like this one thing. And they got hung up on the same way on gay marriage. They got hung up in the same way on all sorts of social issues. And the problem is not that you support these social issues. The problem is that we're cashing in credibility and losing the next generation of people who aren't as invested in the social issue. Now, there's some social issues that I'll die on that hill. Like personally, abortion. I think it's the government's duty to protect the lives of its citizenry. But there are a bunch where we're giving up, and then what you're doing is you're creating like this wave of libertarian or whatever it is, this independent sort of notion. In fact, Trump himself is built on the backs of not Republicans doing such a good job that Trump became the Republican president. It's that Republicans are so bad that Trump comes out of it as someone who is so far averse from what could have been defined as Republican in 2015, but is still Republican enough on the fiscal issues that he was electable. And that's the problem with all of this, is that, and what we see is, instead of riding that tide and understanding that there's a generational, or maybe not even a generational, but there's a sweeping shift among the party towards something, they let that go. And maybe that towards something is partly nationalism. I mean, there's parts of Trump's platform that I don't think are maximum freedom, but they might be the right thing for the country now. I don't know. But we don't really see this in a broad scale. We don't see it in Congress to the same effect that we see it in the White House, and we don't see it here. So there's a disconnect between where the Republican Party is going and where it should be.
Well, I think one of the challenges that you have is what I heard you saying is we're talking about there's layers to this, and I'm only going to stick with one specific layer to make my point is we're talking about the Republican Party should be, and then you have this inconvenient truth to where the people that are still to this day in control in the Republican Party, by and large, there's some exceptions, but by and large, have sold out to the power brokers. So a real good example is, you know, here in Minnesota, we talk about how the Democratic Party has to answer to the public unions, and that's very true. Well, the Republican Party in this state very much answers to the Chamber of Commerce. Okay, I don't subscribe to that personally, but that's an example. And so what that means is you had the perfect example was this is the perfect example was.
I've been waiting for the perfect example. This is awesome.
What I'm talking about these power things. So insulin, because we have a real problem with the cost of insulin. Okay? The cost of insulin has nothing to do with availability of insulin. It has to do with all the different problems that we have, whether it be related to some pharmaceutical companies or Obamacare or these different things. But we had a bill that came forward, and by the way, I don't really like it, but it was a bill that because it didn't even make any sense anyway, but it basically taxed insulin so that you could help a certain sector of people pay for their insulin. So how do you pay for something that's unaffordable? Tax it. We all like that one, right? I think we're on the same page that that's crazy. There was another group that just said, hey, just buy down the cost of insulin, which, by the way, both examples didn't at all address the problem with why insulin is so expensive. But to the point of the bill that came before the House that was to basically tax insulin, okay? Here's the dynamics that happened. It happened at the end of session, and I will tell you that by and large, the people in Minnesota wanted us to pass that bill or something pretty close to it. Why? Because everyone knows someone that needs insulin and they can't afford it and they're dying because of it. So rationality went out of the heads of citizenry in that, okay? Then what happened is the Republican Party killed it because the Chamber of Commerce didn't like it. But that's okay because the Democrat Party also killed it because they believed that by killing it, with the Senate majority being, or with the Senate being a Republican majority, they think they can win the next election and win it over the Senate killing an insulin bill. So here's all the layers to that. We still never addressed anything as to why. No, I guess I'm expecting here in a moment that we shouldn't do anything about insulin. We should just let the market do something about it. I can tell you people in Minnesota are calling on government. I'm not agreeing with this. That's where the pragmatism comes into the political. They're expecting us to do something, okay? But we never addressed the problem. We tried to fix the top layer of it by cutting down the cost of it in some creative way. There's a Republican version of that. There's a Democrat version of that. And guess what? I agree with you totally. Neither of them are good. But that's what we're looking at. And then the next layer is it ended up dying because both sides had their reasons for saying they couldn't do it.
It's a race to the bottom.
Yes.
You're telling me that the Republican set themselves up as the savior to fix the problem. They made it worse. The Democrats had a solution. It made the problem worse. So at the end of the day, let me ask you, Blackface Nick, you, in all fairness, you were a Bernie supporter, right?
No.
Originally, last election.
Over Hillary, yeah.
Okay. So what about his solutions acceptable to you?
What about his solutions?
What about his solutions? So you come from a totally different standpoint. You're not libertarian necessarily,
Right.
and I know you're not Republican. So we're not going to put a label on you.
Appreciate that.
But what is the solution in your mind? What is your issue with the Republican Party?
Oh, how much time do we have? I mean, I
Oh,
guess
man.
if we're talking about the price of insulin,
Because this is an interesting situation, because this is one of your constituents.
Mhm.
So,
I didn't move to where I live now until after the election.
oh, I understand, but he's going to be looking for your vote
Oh,
next year around. So what is your problem?
first of all, there hasn't been nearly enough pandering. This is the only one here that can vote for you. I don't feel like I've been pandered to you. You got off I thought that was part of the thing. But
You know what's really funny is I almost brought donuts tonight. I'm really glad I didn't do that. Go ahead.
I think, honestly, and this is going to be completely counter to what you guys are saying, but I think government is the issue, is the solution. Because in this ultimate freedom, that's why I view as capitalism. This echoes religion. But the price of insulin is a direct result of ultimate freedom. You give these pharmaceutical companies this open market, do what you want. What are they going to do? They're not going to operate on behalf of these people that need insulin. They're going to operate on trying to make as much money as they can. And so the only check to that is a strong people-oriented government. Is the government perfect? No, but I know at the end of the day, I can vote in representatives. I can't do anything about the pharmaceutical.
No, that's a false premise. It's an entirely false premise because every single market acts the opposite of what you just said, except for we're supposed to assume pharmaceuticals. But pharmaceuticals don't operate in a free market. Tim was right about that earlier. Pharmaceutical companies have this weird system where the market is not free for a period of years. And then they have this other weird system where the overwhelming majority of cost in the pharmaceutical industry is paid for by government mandated health insurance provided by employers. The overwhelming majority of Americans are employed by a company that falls under some sort of requirement to provide health insurance. With Obamacare, we closed, or ostensibly we're trying to close the gap on people who didn't have that insurance. That means that no individual person is part of that quote unquote people-oriented market that you're looking for. So the market is tailored around this set of companies who are bearing the cost. Companies who negotiate and buy in bulk, so they get special pricing. The problem with all of that is because they negotiate and get special pricing on it, it's percentage based off of the retail value. So then when pharmaceutical companies want to generate revenue, they just raise the retail value because they have guaranteed consumers covering almost every American. And then the percentage base means that they're getting less off of their price. So if you're one of the people who aren't covered for whatever reason, either you chose not to have insurance or you lost your job and you lost it, suddenly you're facing a bill that is inflated by companies having a guaranteed purchase, and then it's further inflated by them getting on the overwhelming majority of their sales, getting a percentage of that inflated, already inflated cost because of the guaranteed purchase. So instead of, if the retail value hypothetically were $100, they inflate it to $200 and negotiate out a 50% rate because the other company's buying in bulk. Okay, so now they're getting their $100 even though the price is $200. Then they go ahead and raise it further because they have a guaranteed sale. So they know, well, I mean, if we raise it to $250, for example, we know we're going to get that $250 sale. That price increase isn't going to impact our bottom line in any sort of way other than put us further in the black. So now you've raised the cost by 150% with no tangible change in the product, quality, delivery, demand, anything other than price, and it only affects a small percentage of people who are outside of the plan that everybody else is on. This is not a free market. There's nothing even close to it. So we can't say that pharmaceutical companies would be juicing up these prices if they were outside of that system, because no other industry does. No one else does. The only time you have that is when you have some sort of monopolistic control or you have some sort of state-imposed mandate on the purchase. Because it's very easy to predict statistically how many people are going to get diabetes and require insulin. And then it's very easy to statistically predict right now that 99% of those people are going to have the purchase made by someone else, no matter what their financial situation is. There's no like luxury version of insulin that they've had to produce. They don't have to buy an alternative, or they don't have to produce an alternative, because an alternative would be less likely to be purchased by the actual people buying the product, which are the insurance companies. So there's no incentive to change. There's nothing resembling a free market. I can't stand that pharmaceutical companies have even entered this discussion. Government, Republicans, and Democrats have ruined that system. It happened long before Obamacare.
I agree with you. So, but what I want to hear is from a libertarian perspective, I give examples because that's how I understand things. Okay. So the insulin is clear and present. We get what insulin is, whether we really know what it looks like. We know someone that has diabetes and uses it. So what would be the I'm gonna hang up and listen. Okay, I want to hear what the libertarian solution would be to insulin. Now I'm not talking about all of healthcare. Now you can bring in all of healthcare if that's part of your solution. Okay, but understand the people in Minnesota aren't talking about healthcare. They're talking about insulin. Now you can bring in healthcare as a broad way to do this, but tell me how you would go in and 2020 legislative session next year, how would you legislate this?
So, Nick, before you give your argument, Blackface Nick, I would like to hear that.
No, that was good. You were very articulate. I liked what you said because I understand that's the liberal perspective.
Like Joe Biden over here.
No, you said it. You said it very well. I want to make sure that we don't beat up on you. It was very well spoken on what you said. I didn't totally agree with it, but at least you stood your ground and made sense.
Well, I clearly am not as educated on the topic as Nick is. I had no idea what
You're just not angry enough.
This is true.
That'll come in time.
Well, I mean, maybe this is going to sound super warm-hearted of me, but I am fearful of these really large corporations being able to run unchecked. So, and that when I hear the open market and letting these people do, whatever they want, absent some sort of government regulation, my mind goes back to pre-Roosevelt, where we had the people in the coal mines and the flour bakery shops or whatever they were, essentially being slaves to these private corporations, because where else are you going to go? And we can do what we want. We can pay you 3 cents an hour because there's nothing you can do to stop us. And so when I hear just let them do what they want, let the market regulate it. What happens when the market gets together, like is the case with a lot of these in the healthcare field, where they decide, hey, we're all going to do this, and there is no competition, and in this regard, price of insulin, so to speak. So what's stopping them from saying, insulin is now $500 a bottle? And so, absent some sort of democratically elected government infrastructure to control that, I think these companies are going to run rampant, because at the end of the day, they don't care about the people, they care about their bottom line. And I would much rather have somebody that is dependent on me voting for you than a company that only cares about staying in the black.
That company has to keep you alive to sell you insulin.
No, they don't. If I die, there's going to be 5 people to replace me.
Yeah, but if you live, there's 6.
I can't disagree with that.
I know.
I think he did. I think he made a really important point there, though, to what you had said about this. You had said there really is no competition right now. I actually agree with that. The way the system is set up, the way the complex healthcare system is set up, and the way that it's regulated, there is not the competition, because the free market works by and large when there's competition. And there's multiple companies that make insulin, but the whole system by which it's kind of a rigged system, which pharmaceutical companies certainly are at fault in part with that. Okay, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, they are, because it was great. Here's how they're at fault. Republicans and Democrats said, hey guys, y'all want to come over here, and we'll guarantee you a bunch of business. And I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about 1937 or whenever, when they mandated this, or when they incentivized through tax employment granted insurance as a taxable deduction for the employer. Okay, they said, hey, we're gonna guarantee you a bunch of customers. Do you want it? Yeah. Oh, well, yes. Well, then yes, they're at fault. They took the deal. Someone handed them a bag of money and they accepted it, and then they did it over and over and over again. They said, hey, we're gonna keep this patent system, and here's what we're gonna do. Not only are we gonna give you the protection, you're gonna have to bite the bullet on costs a little bit. We're gonna add all these hurdles that make it impossible for a small startup to compete with you guys. But in the end, I mean, you're gonna be paying $2 billion to bring a new drug to market, but no one else can pay $2 billion to bring that drug to market without a massive amount of input into the system from a whole bunch of other parties or from you guys, right? So you get to gatekeep, or you have to be overwhelmed by some sort of public tide. And even if you are overwhelmed by some sort of public tide, they're just going to have the one patent, and they're probably not going to have the next one. And you're already hiring all the best scientists for it anyway, because you've now cemented yourself at the top, right? And this is not certainly not mutually, or certainly not restricted to one party being at fault. And by party I mean government or private company. It's certainly not. However, one of those parties had the power to do this and to keep it. And I know you want me to come up with some solution to all of this for 2020. That was the challenge, is to come up with, well, how do you solve this with a bill in 2020? But this stream was actually about who caused it, right?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Well,
No,
I mean, that's.
I started. No, you guys can make it that, and we can argue that. But no,
It's not making it that. That's the premise of the thing.
But then you're ignoring. But then you're ignoring my question. That you
No, I'm not. I'm not.
To do. My argument is that there's a presumption that with the libertarian movement, you can fix what's ailing the fault of Republicans and Democrats everywhere. And I'm okay with that. I'm not all defensive about it. I'm saying, what does that look like? Because you have to eventually take what's wrong with the system and what are you going to do to make it right? And my argument is you can't say that by just one word, repeal. You can't do it. You have to do something. If you say, why do I have to do something? Why do I have to give another example of something that's already failed? I'm not saying you have to do a different version of what's going on. I'm saying you're going to have to do something to fix what ails this. So I understand you can't fix it all in 2020, but when you go into a legislative session, something might take 5 or 10 years, but you still have to go into year one and do something.
Hold up. I love it how you guys mess stuff up and then you say, well, you come up with a solution. That's what I'm getting from.
You are saying that libertarians can fix the solution.
I'm saying that if you get out of the people's way, the people can figure it out.
Are you going to die at age 95 and say, doggone it, those darn Republicans ruined my 95 years of life, dagnabbit, my grandkids now have to live with it? No, I would expect you to do something. Then do something about it.
I'm saying that your generation has robbed my generation of a lot of opportunities. I'm saying that the decisions that you guys have made to do things like leave.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead, continue.
Out his boomer way of, I guess, saying that I'm a crybaby.
So I ruined everything. Okay, so I ruined everything. So you're going to sit in the corner and pout about it, or you're going to do something?
In all fairness, I didn't say you.
I did.
Generation.
Okay, my generation, and the generation before mine, because I'm right on that boomer line. Okay, so the boomers and us, we ruined everything for you. Well, then do something about it.
And once again, we're gonna screw it up, and you guys fix it. You have been kicking the can down the road for the last
generation
years.
before me screwed up my life, and the generation before them screwed up their lives.
Not nearly as bad as you guys, because you guys double teamed us.
You know who really screwed it up was the whole generation that led into
Nick,
the
I feel like
1860s.
The boomers cucked us. They did. The boomers cucked us.
Let me brought into the conversation.
Let me answer Tim. So I wasn't actually going to not answer you. I was just merely stating that the premise of this stream that I was sold was that we were going to be blaming people, not solving problems.
Yeah.
But that said,
Which is way more fun.
You understand that what you just did there was you fell into a trap that I didn't even make, right? Because what you just asked me to do was you being the insurance company telling me asking how I would fix healthcare tomorrow. Well, how would you fix it, right? Because what you've done is you've established a system. Not you.
I know
right?
what you mean. Go ahead. My argument established. My argument.
Well, not even your argument. I mean, you operate within a system, and then you have demanded that we answer the problem within the system and structure that you've created that has generated these problems.
Then go outside the system. I don't care where you go with it. I want to hear, what would you do? Okay, maybe not in session.
I mean, I don't know if you want to know, because
yes, I do.
I I have lots of rope, and there are lots of politics. No, I'm just kidding. I'm mostly kidding. No, but the problem here is trying to answer this question within the structure that exists. So, like you said, you have to go outside of the structure. Well, if you try and distill a libertarian idea into what do you do next year, you're talking about principles that aren't ready, right? Because like we've had this discussion before when addressing the weed issue, for example. You've said, well, then should we just go ahead and legalize heroin or whatever? Well, maybe, yeah. Actually, at some point that could absolutely happen. Should it happen tomorrow? Probably not. Not yet. It's a long-term out. Do we end the Fed? Well, do we end the Fed tomorrow? I don't know if we end the Fed tomorrow, but why don't we start with an audit? Why don't we start with some transparency, and then let's see where that goes, and let's see how we get to the point where ending the Fed is a viable thing. And the Fed is probably going to get ended by cryptocurrency at some point without our help. So the Fed will, and trust me, that grab for power will be one of the most like, you think the media is bad right now as they are dying out to independent commentators being accessible to everybody without their gatekeeping. You watch what the banks do when crypto starts to hit the mainstream, and I think it's probably like I'll probably be on all sorts of insulin by the time that happens. But when it happens, it will be the most terrifying power grab that the world has seen ever, because the banks are going to try and hold on to their one grip on the throat of every person. So what do we do about healthcare, though? The first steps are simple. You have to start reducing the power of the FDA, and you have to lower the cost of entry for producing alternatives. Second, you have to roll back Obamacare, and you have to do it. And here's the weird, dumb thing that's going to sound very anti-libertarian, but you're going to have to do it by combining some sort of socialistic principle to it. And I know that someone over there might actually like the sound of that, but we're going to have to force, in conjunction with opening up the market, we're going to have to undo the damage the closed market has done.
You know what you sound like? You sound like a conservative Republican elected into office right now.
No, you don't want that's only because
everything that I believe in. You and I are on the same page with everything that you just said.
I highly doubt it.
No,
I would only be called that by a conservative Republican trying to latch on to the movement of where the country is going to go.
Here's the one thing is everything that you're saying, you're going to have to be doing in 15 years, or someone like you is going to have to be doing in 15 years. Okay, or 20, or 12, or 5, whatever the case is, I think we all can agree that we have a republic government in the U.S. Now we can argue whether it's right, wrong on how it's being operated right now, but my point being is we have an executive.
We have a socialist republic.
We have an executive, legislative, judicial system based on a constitution. We talk about how sick it is. My point being is we have a government here in the United States, okay? And our government is a representative government to where people are elected. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. If you are going to affect the change that you're talking about, it's going to be through those elected representatives, whether it's a president or a governor and or a legislative body and or courts, all that sort of stuff. The things that you're talking about, my point is you're going to have to do something. And I'm not saying do it and now you're going to find out, except for what I'm saying is that it isn't as simple as just saying these altruistic things.
No, it's not that simple, because the main opponent that we would have in doing that is Republicans.
Oh,
that's the real.
It's a lot broader. Actually, it has as much to do with forgetting what the fourth estate is oppressed. The fifth estate, called bureaucracy. That's the common enemy that we all have.
Right. Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about what to do with the administrative state, I'm already saying you immediately have to start rolling back things like the FDA. You have to start rolling back the Department of Education. You have to start rolling back all of these bloated programs that make no sense. And I mean, you have to start doing that 10 years ago when we were really begging for it
But see,
and
I
had the
agree with
opportunity.
you on all that stuff. So far, when you talk about the principles that you talk about, I agree, and you tell me the only reason why I'm agreeing is because I'm latching on to someone who's right.
No, I'm just saying that the only reason we call it conservative.
That's what I think, and then you question that that's what I think, and you're saying you must. You're saying you must not think that because government would be right if you did think that way.
No. You're misstating what I said about the conservative latching on thing. I wasn't talking about your latching on to me. I'm saying the conservatives that are in office are trying to latch on to the new wave by calling it conservative, and then and this is not you necessarily.
I agree totally.
Yeah.
But in fairness, libertarians are calling themselves conservative, and that's why I think we need to separate those out because I don't.
Let's just get rid of conservatism. Let's get rid of that label because
I don't think that's ever going to be down there. I think because when I talk conservatism, I'm probably in my generation. This would make sense. I'm most affiliated with Reagan conservatism. That would be a very fair statement, right? You can roll your eyes, but you're not even old enough to even know what that is.
I know Reagan.
Brought what? Reagan brought crack
to the streets.
He did.
Reagan conservatism was one of the pieces that gave you everything that you're sitting here doing right now and bitching about it. That's what drives me nuts. We finished off a Cold War. Okay, we finished off. No, don't make light of that. Don't make light of that. You wrinkle your face. You wrinkle your face. You know what? You can walk out of here right now, and there's a little bit of threat for terrorism. Okay.
But there's a lot of threat of being shot by the police.
You don't have.
That's what I'm saying. It's like we jumped out of the frying pan into the fire. You know, I'm not going to doubt that.
Reagan did not bring crack to the streets. I'm not even going to go there.
A little bit of hyperbole, but
that was Oliver North.
But my issue with Reagan is like, okay, yeah, we don't have to fear Al Qaeda in our streets, but like Nick said, I think the war on drugs, you know, that is largely attributable to Reagan.
Absolutely, the social conservatism that Nick's talking about. That's what I'm saying. I ascribe to that social conservatism. Okay, I do. Okay. And if you really make me kind of wrap it around to how does this deal with our republic? Because I am one of those. You guys can disagree with me on this, but I'm one of those that believe that without a moral society, you cannot have independent living. You will be governed by the state if you are immoral, and we are drifting quickly into immorality. Okay,
that's not the government's job. The government's job is not to legislate morality.
But that's a nice little catchphrase that came up for a campaign slogan in the 60s. But everything we do is legislate. Okay, is it wrong to murder someone? And should we have crimes and should we convict someone of a crime if they murder someone?
It should be a law because it's wrong. It's a law because the government's duty is to protect the citizens.
So killing isn't wrong.
Killing is wrong, but that's not why it's a law. It's against the law.
Absolutely, that's why it's the law.
That's not why.
There's a presumption that in an order of society, there's things that are good for that society and things that are bad for that society, which is morality. You can't. This is one of those crazy things when you say that you can't. It's a nice little catchphrase. You can't legislate morality. We legislate morality with almost every right or wrong. Sometimes we make dumb decisions.
There's a line. I mean, there's nobody that's going to argue with you that murder is right or it has this moral.
Is stealing right or wrong?
I'm doing it. Murder's good. Let's put it in there.
Murder in itself is a legal term. It's only murder if the government says so.
That's true. It's gotcha.
So at a certain point, I guess what I'm saying is you can't legislate morality. Is now what if the government says, well, that used to be murder, but it's not murder. And
so we do that.
So now it's morally okay.
No, it's still murder. Now you're proving my point.
I guess what I'm trying to say then is,
Okay, so while you're regathering your train of thought, let's get back to the fact that, again, you cannot legislate morality. That is not the government's job, even though they have tried to do that for years. especially when not everyone in America, unless you're going to establish a single religion, you can't establish morality.
Was slavery a moral issue?
Hold on. Like I said before, the only way you're actually going to be consistent is by being a libertarian. You're going to have to. It's going to come. It's going to come. I think Tim will be a libertarian by like 2024. Okay, so this is the deal. When we talk about these types of things, I say that the government should get involved when one citizen violates the human rights or the rights of the other citizen. What I choose to do, as long as it affects me and only me, is none of your business as the government.
So give me an example of that.
Oh, we already talked about
No, give me one example of that.
We talked drugs.
Drugs?
That's the biggest one.
So let's say you're taking heroin, okay? Okay, give me.
I'll take the heroin. I'll take that hit. I'll take the heroin.
Nick, white face Nick. Let's say that you're taking heroin, okay?
It's only my fault. It's your fault I'm whiteface because you legislated the sun into a lower luminosity.
So let's
try to fight that global warming.
Drug of choice, because you guys brought up drugs, okay? Pick your drug of choice, okay? So
weed.
If I can live, okay, weed. Okay, if I can live in your world where I have no impact on the weed that you smoke, then I'll go with you on that. Look at Colorado. Look at the cost. Look at the cost to the taxpayers in Minnesota. Look at the cost to the judicial system there. Look to the cost of the families associated with that.
What are you talking about, Tim?
And they're still taxed at a lesser rate than we are.
In Colorado, traffic accidents are up expendially since.
No, not even close.
Absolutely true. Homelessness has skyrocketed. Guess what? The taxes that they thought they were going to get off of this has all been spent on the expenses addressing all of this stuff.
That's completely counter to the point we're trying to make in the first place. Government should be taxed.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. So if you say that by you smoking pot, I have absolutely, and anyone else around you has absolutely no impact, and keep our hands off of it, that's fine. But then don't come to me about it. Okay?
No, you're misstating this. You're misstating that. Yeah. No, the statistical analysis on traffic deaths in states that legalize marijuana show a small bump for approximately 2 years, and then it levels off and follows the trend of the rest of the country downwards.
It's just not true.
It is true. You can. I read the article, man.
Dogma coming. I know people that live in Colorado that.
Oh yes, and are they sitting there with a ticker for the past 10 years to make the data analysis?
They are saying you're seeing the teacher where truancy is up because their parents aren't even sending their kids to school. Okay. Yes.
Well, hold on.
Yes.
Hold on. Truancy, Colorado, weed.
You know, and here's the problem is, and then I go back to my original statement is that if libertarianism wants to be the system, the way of life, the way of thinking, the only way to not be a hypocrite in your life, okay, then you got to prove it to me in the real world. Because, and then when I say this is what's happening in Colorado, you're like, that isn't happening out there. Sort of thing. Go ahead and say that. I'm telling you that's what's happening.
I would encourage the audience to look at the impact of marijuana on traffic deaths in states that legalized it. There's a study on it. You'll find a 2 to 3 year increase and then a level off that follows the trend of the rest of the country on traffic deaths in every state.
Okay, so Nick, let's say this. If there is one traffic death related to marijuana in Colorado, then insurance should not pay for the death of that. There should be no social costs whatsoever. Based on your premise, this isn't hurting anyone else. If there is any adverse effect,
that's not my premise at all.
Stay away from me on it.
That's not my premise at all. I'm just correcting you on the statistical impact.
If it doesn't hurt anyone else, then you should be allowed to do it and use marijuana as your example. So I'll go and tell you, as long as marijuana doesn't affect me in any way, which by the way, in my family, marijuana has affected my family, but I get to tell the people that smoke the marijuana, sorry, man, there's get away from us sort of thing. We have no help for you because it isn't impacting any of us.
So what are you going to say if a drunk driver were to hit someone in your family?
Yeah.
They should hold the same repercussions.
But so
Okay.
alcohol?
Absolutely. If you kill someone with alcohol, then you should face the repercussions of that.
So your insurance shouldn't pay for it?
Here's the next libertarian argument. You want to outlaw weed, but you okay alcohol, which is 70,000 times more harmful on everything that you're saying than marijuana. Okay? You kind of get me in a little bit of a thing there, except for one thing. Marijuana is more dangerous than alcohol. You guys just...
Oh, it is not. What on earth? What the hell are you talking about, Tim?
Do you see what marijuana does to your brain?
Do you see what alcohol does to your brain? Alcohol will kill you.
You're drinking, there's alcohol behind you right now, okay?
Yeah, and if I took
And you
this,
drink it responsibly, whatever that's defined as in your life, okay?
if I took this bottle and drank it right now, all of it, I would probably die.
Right.
If
But
if I took this much concentrated THC and even tried to smoke it, I wouldn't die. I would pass out, I would vomit, and I would wake up.
Like you said, false argument, because here's the difference.
It's not a false argument.
You drink a glass of that a day, chances are you'd probably be fine. You smoke one joint a day your whole life,
You'll be just fine.
science has shown that it messes with your brain. Don't tell me that.
That is absolutely ridiculous. That is
Go ahead.
no. It's just a completely false premise. Oh wait. Sorry.
Pot is based on false premises.
That I knew people. The only way they got through law school was a joint a day,
Okay.
and they were just fine.
Okay.
Now, I think the point we were trying to make was not so much that once it affects somebody, that there are no penalty for it, or you can only prevent it if it affects somebody. The fact of the matter is, keep the government out of regulating it. And at that point, with somebody, so if you're smoking, or you're driving high and you get in a traffic accident, at that point, then the government steps in and does something to you because you've broken the law. And it's like that's what she brought up the alcohol thing. Somebody drives drunk and kills somebody, there's repercussions for that. But I don't think the government is fair to say this might happen. And
let me give you an argument where that falls apart in our society, okay? Again, I go back to libertarianism and its theory.
I've been waiting for a good argument.
It doesn't work.
Day.
Here's an example of what I'm switching a subject to make my point, okay? Okay. Hands-free. No, hold on. This is a quick point, Nick. Hands-free. Okay, so distracted driving. That's ultimately what people talk about, okay? Okay. And the example I gave you a couple weeks ago is the bill that passed in Minnesota was a lousy bill that's now law. Hands-free, okay? I won't go into why it's a lousy bill and now a law and stuff like that. But the premise of it is to protect people from unsafe driving, okay? Now, I agree that, rather than writing a law that says you shouldn't be doing this, that you make sure that you penalize the person on the back end if they do it, okay? And it causes harm to someone, okay? But in our society, I can tell you the reason why that got signed into law, and I'm not going to name names because then I am doxing people. Is that what you call it? But there is a person that is within 50 miles of this area. I'm going to be really general, but I know the person is basically what I'm saying. And their son was killed because someone was texting going through an intersection. Okay, so when you, as a legislator, are sitting there and you have someone who is saying, you need to do something because my son died because of this. And really what they're saying is don't let my son die and be in vain. We need to affect change. They don't just say, they do say make sure people like that pay a penalty, which, by the way, we'll get into that whole argument of how libertarians don't believe in anyone being held accountable either. We'll get into that one later, okay? But when you are looking at someone like that, you can say, you know what, well, this is a free society and shit happens in your life and you're going to have to live with it. No, you look at that person and your heart breaks for them. That's what happens, okay?
This where we cue the baby crying? Or is that?
Yeah, you want me to, was I crying?
No, not for you.
Okay.
But, I mean, shit happens, and that doesn't mean obviously that person should be penalized
Sure.
because they killed somebody, but it's not so much that now we need a law.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Because I mean, where does that stop? You know, after the Minneapolis miracle,
agreeing with the socialists.
the Minneapolis miracle, okay? Vikings win an epic game. Somebody gets excited, decides that I don't know. Was there? I was in here. Was there like? Because when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, people ran out of that.
They were rioting and stuff. No, there wasn't rioting.
No, not riots, but you know, there were people that came out of their houses and was like, "Oh, we just won the Super Bowl." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you know, there's a jovial gathering. Selfies. Somebody's on the side of the road trying to take a selfie or trying to record. Steps into the road, car veers off, what have you. Does that mean now? We need a law against selfies after celebrations, or what I'm trying to say is how many things are going to happen and somebody comes with a sad story that the government decides this needs to be a law.
I agree with you. That's the problem. That's the part where I agree with you. We can't bubble wrap society. I'm just telling you what happens and why it happens. There has to be a big distinction here between me explaining what happens in government and me defending it, okay? I will defend some things in government, okay, but there is a difference there.
I mean, I understand what happens in government. You've done a great job of explaining why, but I guess where I stand is wrong. Like, government needs to change. I think they got their hands in too much. They're trying to legislate things that honestly, I don't think they have any business legislating. And we should be legal everywhere.
Sounds like you're actually going to convert him into being a libertarian before you convert me into being a libertarian.
Because I'm not anti-government. I believe that the government has an important role to play in society, but I don't think that when they start legislating things that should be personal liberties.
And we do that all the time, and that's where I am on your side, everyone in this room on that. So like the hands-free legislation, I told you it was terrible. I'm telling you why it got signed into law, not whether it should or not, and how it's not easy to avoid stuff like that.
Hey, let me say this. This is Q, by the way. Let me say this. The argument that I get from Tim against libertarianism, even though I know some of us in the room hate labels, libertarianism is that it leads to anarchy.
It's natural conclusion, yes.
That's what you said.
I would actually agree with that.
And that's fine. You guys can hug it up and sing Kumbaya later. But I say anarchy is not a terrible thing. No, it's not. It's not a terrible thing. I would say that a pure anarchy, which could not exist, I understand that's a utopian society, similar to a socialist society. A pure anarchy can't exist naturally, kind of like communism. It can't exist. But I do not believe that it leads to anarchy. I believe that at the end of the day, saying that the government is going to get out of the business of penalizing people before they can do something wrong. The problem that we've had, I think at the base of it, Tim, is that you believe that man is an evil being. You don't believe in the goodness of man.
Well, that's not true.
You said it. We can pull it up.
You took what I said and you changed it. So let me say.
What did you say?
Okay. Now I'm forgetting the word, but it's not. There is good in him. Right, but the way you said it is not the way that I say it, and it's an important distinction. I'm just thinking of the specific word.
People are inherently awful.
People are inherently, well, the Christians would call it sinful. I'm trying to think of the word that I don't, depraved. That's what I'm looking for. People are inherently depraved, okay? There is the law. I don't want to bring in Christianity because you guys get all worked up with that, but I have to use it in that vernacular. The law is written on your hearts. You know that it's wrong to kill, for example. You know that it's wrong to steal. You know that it's wrong to sleep with someone else's wife. Okay? Those are things that when people say, well, I don't know that it's wrong, or I don't believe it's wrong, they're just convincing themselves of something that in their hearts they know is wrong. But we naturally veer towards depravity and selfishness, and in the Christian term, sinfulness. Okay? The thing that gives us righteousness, okay? The thing that gives us righteousness is the creator of this universe and being guided by his principles. But left to our own devices, we veer towards the depraved. Yes, I absolutely believe that. Doesn't mean that people have no ability. I know people that are not Christians and are either agnostic or atheist, and they do a lot of good things, okay? I'm just as depraved. One of the things I need to really explain here when we get into the whole Christian argument is people from the outside assume that us Christians think that we're holier than thou. Sometimes we act like that, by the way, okay? But I am just as depraved as anyone else in this world, okay? Just as depraved. The only thing that I draw my righteousness from is the one true God. That's the only thing. And without him, I would veer towards depraved. Now, in my life, could I do this nice thing for this person or that nice thing? Absolutely. But in my heart of hearts, soul of souls, I'm a depraved, broken person. All of us are. Are people tell me I'm depraved? I can't see it. So.
No, it's saying that you should make it illegal to boomer while driving.
So go ahead. I jumped your words there.
I believe,
and you're right. Since you disagree with me, that is a fundamental difference between us.
I believe that man is inherently good. I believe that people are good.
Okay. Can I just got one quick question. Yeah. Assume you have children. I don't know. All right. Did you ever have to teach your kids to lie?
Nope.
Okay.
So what's your point?
Oh, I understood his point.
Is lying good?
Huh?
Is lying good?
Is lying bad?
Yes.
You're a
Even
handsome man.
It's bad, even in your definition, because it hurts someone else outside your little sphere of universe.
Tim, I think you're very well spoken today.
You just lied.
Lying is not bad.
Okay, so let me ask you.
Wait a minute. No one's taking that bait?
Well,
I disagree with you. So
because I personally believe in situational ethics. So if somebody shows up to your house with a gun and they say,
I would lie, yes.
Is your wife here?
I would lie.
So what's the penalty?
Why would you need to lie? Why don't you just shoot them?
If somebody shows up...
Because the Republicans agreed with the magazine ban.
No, we didn't.
Well, you started with the...
If we got enough votes, then we'd agree with it.
Yeah, you started with the suppressors. It's coming. It's coming.
The suppressors. Why are you
What about those? What about... you didn't. Republicans.
No, I'm saying, no, Republicans wanted the suppressors.
They did. Now they don't. Now they don't want bump stocks either.
I think bump stocks are like the biggest issue with bump.
They don't want fully automatic weapons.
If you want your bump,
I want my fully automatic weapon.
If you want your bump stock, go ahead and have the right to have a 30-year-old couch on your front porch too.
Okay, I do.
Okay, go ahead and have your bump stocks are like I'm trying to think of the term that doesn't.
Who cares if they're stupid? Yeah, offend everybody. It doesn't matter. Who cares that they're stupid? What if I want one?
It's like I want to have a laser gun if I can have one. Okay, have a laser.
You know why people want bump stocks is because you won't legalize fully automatic weapons.
Yeah, I would never own a bump stock if I could own fully automatic.
People own bump stocks want bump stocks to make their point, not because they want it. Because no one really wants a bump stock.
No, they'd rather have a fully automatic weapon.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
I don't care.
So if nobody wants a bump stock, make them legal. No one will buy them anyway.
Actually,
Let the market decide it.
Actually, I think that would be the case too. They are legal, isn't? They want to make them illegal, right? They are legal now, aren't they?
No, Trump signed a bill to make them illegal.
I thought Trump was your Reagan.
I thought he was the best president ever.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
He pissed me off with
I
that.
never thought that Blackface Nick and I would be agreeing more and disagree with you guys more. This is kind of a weird universe we're in.
Yeah, it's really funny how the conservative Republican is agreeing more with the pro-government pseudo-socialist. Man, it's weird. It's weird how that works out, isn't it? What an astute observation.
Hey, I think I can rest my case. I think I can rest my case.
No, he's not pseudo-socialist. He's either socialist or he's not.
I don't want to label him.
Okay, can I
Work, the joke worked that way.
because we're breaking down a little bit.
Are you not a socialist?
Here's where I bring in the brass knuckles. I love this. Don't label me. Don't label who I am. I affirm who I am and no one else. I'm who I am. Don't label me.
I'm trying to blind you with my arms right now. You see that? Look at all that light reflecting off them.
All right. I don't just pull a lever and these are my decisions, follow AOC, she believes everything. No, I'm not the person. I hear an issue, I listen to both sides, and I make a decision, And so, yeah, that's why I'm B, you know what I'm saying?
Wait until you're 53. You just choose A or B and you usually pick B.
That's awesome.
Isn't that right, Nick? You're getting to that age pretty quick. You're going to be stuck in your ways pretty soon.
Oh, I'm not stuck in my ways. I am fluid and wonderful. I'm practically perfect in every way. I'm the Mary Poppins of people. Because Mary Poppins is some sort of arch demon.
Yeah. Moving on.
So anyway, moving on from Mary, people are starting to hang up from this show. Let's start fighting again.
Yeah, well, this is simple. Here, I can do it. Everything you have said about weed is wrong. All of it.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Back it up.
Back yours up. You go, a study showed.
Yes, yes. The study was the Colorado Department of Transportation.
No.
Yes.
Wait. So Colorado Department of. So you're trusting government for your information.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, the information about who died on those government roads, I'm trusting them to tell me the numbers. And I'm going to tell you that the numbers decreased in 2018 for the first time in 6 years, which means they were increasing prior to the passage. They're increasing prior to the passage of the bill. Following the passage of the bill, they continued to increase for a period of 3 years and then decreased last year and are on pace to be same or lower this year.
Here's the problem with studies, okay, like that, because
here it comes.
Here it comes. Here in Minnesota, okay, we have 2 statistically proven numbers on the same subject, depending on who you're talking to. When we had Governor Dayton, he's gone now. Walsh hasn't said much on this, but Dayton.
Which subject? Is it the number of people who died on the road?
No, it's
because
taxes.
that's the number I'm talking about.
It's taxes in Minnesota. Okay, that's a fixed number too. Okay, you have Governor Dayton saying we are the least taxed state in the union, or one of the least taxed, and other people are saying, using their studies, we are one of the most taxed states in the union. Now, you should be able to quantify that, because taxes are taxes. Whether you cap it up.
Guys, I'm so sorry. I just realized what happened. Oh my gosh. Tim, before you came on the show, did the straw union come into your office and lobby for increased prices on all the straw men you're building?
The Libertarian says that's a straw argument.
It is a straw man. Listen, I'm going to give you numbers that are not in dispute. Here they are. Okay, we're going to start at 12.
Nick, real quick.
I can't.
You have to understand that there's a generational gap here. Unfortunately, when Tim was a kid, they showed him a video of a guy who smoked weed and went and killed everyone.
Reefer Madness. I saw Reefer Madness.
That guy didn't kill enough people.
Reefer Madness. I've been embodied by Reefer Madness. By the way, you should watch Reefer Madness if you never have.
No, you should not watch Reefer Madness.
Awesome. You'll love it. get your friends together, like however you guys get together as a group, because you still do that, right? I mean,
Look at this. I have this wonderful thing here. Look at that. It's called screen share. And here, these are numbers that are not in dispute because this isn't a taxable number. This isn't a number that can be delineated into a bunch of categories. These are raw numbers of dead people, and they're not very high, which means that they're much harder to dispute because we're not talking about rounding errors or anything like that. What they did was they found a bloody corpse inside of a car, or maybe just outside of it, and then some sad sap with the worst job in history has to walk up and take a picture of it. And then later they counted all of those pictures, and they're like, that pile of entrails is different from that one, so that's 2. And then they're like, that splattered head is different from that one, that's 3.
So here I have two articles.
You don't need an article. You don't need an article.
See, here's the straw man argument: is the libertarian throws out their one number and says, "Don't talk anymore because I proved my point." I went to the all-knowing Google and I just Googled traffic accidents in Colorado after legalization of marijuana. I'm going to throw out the top article because I'm going to have to read the article to know what because it doesn't say anything. So I'm just going to go to number 2 and number 3 on the list, all written basically at the same time. Studies. Car accidents up in Colorado. Other states have legalized marijuana. The next one, traffic deaths, just like you're talking about. Traffic deaths rose and fell after these states legalized marijuana. Okay?
Rose,
so
then fell.
At the same time, flat out I know, but that's what I'm saying. There's 2 articles that contradict each other. Okay?
Yeah, one left off the then fell.
I said
that's not a contradiction.
That's what I said. Okay, let me say it one more time for you who have a short attention span.
Say it again for the people in the back.
The first article, studies. Car accidents up in Colorado, other states with legalized marijuana. End of subject for that article.
What date? What date?
The next article.
What date?
This was last fall.
What date?
One was last fall also. Traffic deaths rose, then fell after 3 states. I'm just saying there's 2 articles.
What are the 2 dates?
You ran right past my original point, okay? I sit in and I listen to testimony in committees and then on the House floor, okay? And people come up and the point that...
Argument from authority fallacy, straw man fallacy. What's the frickin' date, Tim? What's the dates, Tim? You've got them on there. What are the dates?
Okay. This one is October last year. This one is...
October 2018.
3 months apart.
Wait, so October 2018, and when was the second one? Sorry, I was complaining.
February 5th, 2019.
Okay, so after those 2018 numbers were in when it fell.
Right.
So you have 2 articles that are separated by a whole freaking year of data, Tim.
I sit in these committees, and I sit on the floor, and when people have 2 opposing arguments, especially the more volatile it is. Let me give you another example on a different subject.
Oh my God.
I'm sitting in Health and Human Services, and I have studies have shown, this is on my favorite, the abortion issue, okay? There was a state representative who brought up a study, and a study showed that getting a paper cut puts a woman more at risk of her health than having an abortion, okay? They actually testified to that study in a committee. Now, that's my absurd to make, although someone really did say that, okay? My point is I always love when people start saying, you got to look at the numbers. Numbers are deceiving, I'm telling you. I wish 1 + 1 always equal 2, but they don't. You had 2 articles that were back-to-back in Google that contradicted each other.
They're separated by a year of data in which the data went from... No, it's... You, Tim, stop.
You're going to hang your head on that one.
This is an... Your entire argument is a fallacy, and every time I point it out, you just start getting louder. Listen.
In 15 years, actually probably in about 3 years, when you guys have legalized marijuana, libertarians are going to have nothing else to bitch about because that's the only thing that they bitch about. Every argument I've had with the libertarian has always devolved into, why can't I get my marijuana and smoke it? I say smoke it up. Are you smoking it already? Just smoke it.
Red herring fallacy.
What is that fallacy? Smoke the dope.
Smell it and they got probable cause for anything else.
Smoked it. Okay, so make it legal. You guys make it legal.
We would love to.
There's the votes in the House and Senate. There's a vote.
Do it.
In the House and Senate. No, I vote no. And you know what? I'm elected.
So
you're not. You're not
Here's
where I am. Vote me out of office if you don't If you don't want marijuana, vote me out of office.
Why would I vote someone I like out of office when I could easier change their mind?
You're not going to ever change my mind on that.
Well, but I'm going to say this argument. I'm gonna read these numbers to you because you refuse to let me read them. 474, 474, 481, 488, 547. That's the year after legalization. Went up quite a bit. 608 went up good amount there. 648 went up there. It was increasing every single year leading up to it. It looks like it increased a little more. And that's what those articles will say. I actually read the top several articles on Google a couple weeks back when we had this same discussion. And then 632 in 2018. And what we find is that that statistic mirrors the other states that have passed it. Now, if you go with this, if you start going towards this fallacy, or I won't even call it a fallacy, if you start going towards this argument of, well, one death is too many deaths. Yes, one death is too many deaths. Okay, lower the speed limit to 5 miles an hour or just ban cars.
That wasn't
Isn't that the same argument that the Democrats make? If banning guns saves just one life.
Because I'm looking at your chart. What you're also saying, Nick, because the number drops huge on this chart that you're showing me, it drops huge. So what you're saying is using that ssame argument.
No, 2019 is not complete.
Smoking dope actually saves lives.
That's 2019 isn't complete.
That's what we've been trying to say all this time.
But this line in 2019 is not complete. It's as the date of the report. We're still in 2019. So
let's say it goes up to 600, or let's say it goes up to 550.
The thing that you're not taking.
Okay.
I am the captain now.
Is that smoking marijuana saves lives?
Okay, but the thing you're not taking into consideration is what was the population in Colorado then as opposed to now. We know that the population of Colorado has gone up by something like, 8-10% yearly?
Everyone's moving there to smoke dope.
No,
yes.
But a lot of other industries have come about as a result of it. I mean, a lot of other industries have come about.
So wait, you guys are also not bringing up another part of the argument, okay? Okay, who is selling the marijuana? Here's my question for you. Who is selling the marijuana in Colorado? The legal marijuana. Who is selling it?
Same people who are selling the illegal marijuana in California or Colorado.
Absolutely. He's 100% right. It's the cartels that are selling all of it.
What up?
He's 100% right. So the cartels.
No. Not the cartels.
Absolutely, that's who's selling it. The cartels have legitimized their business model.
The cartels hate legalized marijuana.
Why do they care if there's legalized marijuana? They're making money from both ends. They're making more money. The black market is actually bigger in Colorado now. Probably show me.
Why you got to bring race into this? I don't know why.
So if you have the cartels involved in drugs. Are cartels hurting anyone?
Well, the white market is technically Target. I mean, to be fair,
are the cartels hurting anyone in the world?
Probably.
Yeah. So every joint you smoke promotes that.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
What exactly are we?
Human trafficking is intricately tied into the marijuana.
Where's your shirt made, Tim?
This thing, it was like $3, so I'm guessing in Thailand or something.
You want to talk human trafficking after saying that?
Yes, I do.
You want to talk about supporting human trafficking, the textile industry in Thailand?
I want to combat human trafficking. No, you guys are the ones that's saying, "Hey, Sarah, Sarah, let everyone do what they want." That's what you're saying, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going off of your argument that you're saying nothing should be regulated.
You're going off of my argument. That's true. You're going way off of it.
No, because I am saying there should be laws put in place to protect young girls from being trafficked into sex.
Okay.
Do that, okay?
That's great.
That is great. What does it have to do with the laws of Singapore?
What did I just say?
I don't know.
There only should be government intervention when one person interferes with the rights of another citizen. So in that case, you're talking about trafficking young women? I agree 100%. No one's going to disagree with that. You sound like the people that make the abortion argument. You want to go straight from legalizing weed to sex trafficking?
No,
I
they're
mean,
all,
come on now.
the cartels run all of it. The trafficking that's coming over the border is drugs and kids.
Okay.
It's all the one and the same. That's my point. Is you can't
People
tell
that I
me.
know that consume marijuana. It comes from Oregon. I don't
Okay.
know a lot of Oregon-based cartels.
No, the cartels are feeding the marijuana in Oregon. I'm telling you.
No. The weed is grown in Oregon.
Yes. Who's? Are you talking about stuff that's actually marketed and sold, or they're growing it themselves?
No,
If they grow it themselves, then you kind of have a good argument there.
That's what I'm
But the
saying.
stuff that they buy, like in a weed store, right?
No.
A weed store.
What do they call
The
it?
head shops too. They will. A lot of them will tell you that it's locally.
Meaning, like your neighbor grew it themselves.
Sometimes.
No, that's the point I want to make. It's not commercialized weed, not commercialized marijuana.
Commercialized marijuana is grown in
Okay.
buildings.
When you go into Boulder,
in
Colorado, when you go into Colorado and there is marijuana that's grown, that's sold in the storefront, okay? That is all cartel run. I've been told by real
Yeah.
people in
I
Colorado
know
tell me this.
people that own dispensaries. I know people who own grow operations, who own buildings with 500, 2,000 plants.
Yeah.
No, they're owned by cartels.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out where the cartels come into this, because when I have seen it, it's been
You're getting a conflated argument.
American red, white, and blue cartel-less operation.
Here's what we're doing is we're talking about the exact same subject and hearing completely different information, and so I will never agree with you on this.
Okay, but
Because you're hearing it from some
I know
guy.
for a fact that
No, not some
Vegas
guy consistent.
is run by white cartels.
What is?
Is run by white cartels.
What is?
Vegas. So are we going to argue? I mean, are we going to argue against casinos? Of
Sure, I'll argue against casinos.
course you will.
Who's telling?
Gambling is legal.
I voted
No one's
against.
arguing against
I
that.
voted
I mean, what's
against
the difference in? Well, hold on. What's the difference in a cartel and a mafia?
nothing.
I don't understand.
No, I just said there's no difference.
So why are we arguing about people's right to smoke marijuana, but we're not arguing about people's right to gamble?
You're talking to someone who voted no to the expansion of gambling in Minnesota like 6 times now.
Okay, but what did the Republican Party do as a whole?
And that's my point, getting back to marijuana. You have a Republican Party that wants to legalize marijuana, okay? They've got one inconvenient truth in Minnesota.
You're the John McCain.
They're not positive. No, listen. You have two things. You have two things in Minnesota that are keeping marijuana, because we're expected to be that we were assumed to be the next state that legalizes marijuana. A lot of money has come into the state because of it. Two things kept it from happening. One person and one general thought. The general thought is there's not enough votes come election time that if you vote for it, that you aren't going to get voted out of it. There's enough Republican votes to legalize marijuana in Minnesota. That's not a problem, okay? So it is the fear. There are some people who don't want to vote for it for fear that their constituency is going to be ticked off at them. By the way, that's a representative government, so that's good. And number two, the majority leader in the Senate, Paul Gazelka, he was in a position and empowered to say, it's not happening on my watch. Now, he may get voted out of office next year, and it won't be on his watch, and then it'll probably be legalized. That is the only thing that kept it. So you will have legalized marijuana in Minnesota eventually, sooner or later, whatever way you want to say it. You're gonna have the way that you want it. Okay, you're gonna win this, but I'm still gonna vote no. Because one of the arguments I get is Tim, it's going to happen anyway. You should support it. Any one of my constituents that heard me say I voted for this because it was going to happen anyway, what's the first thing they should do? Vote me out of office. Okay.
They should similarly do it to say, when you say, I didn't vote for this because I based everything on bad data told to me by one interested party in Colorado.
Okay, so I'm supposed to vote this way because of one bad information from one bad party that I'm on a webcam with right now?
No, you should do a bunch of real research.
I have done, you know what research I do? Here's my point with all that. I listen to these scientific studies and they're all over the place. So what do? I talk to people who are there. So like with the immigration issue on the border,
Tell me about
stories. I talk to people who have actually been there and
talk to me about the people in Colorado.
What did you see? Okay.
Talk to me about the person in Colorado. Don't give me their name, but both people. Okay, who are they?
Okay, two of them are legislators.
Two Republican legislators who are opposed to marijuana. Okay, who else?
One is an educator.
Okay, a teacher. There you go. She's opposed to marijuana. Who else?
Enforcement.
Yep, they lie about the marijuana all the time.
There you go. Actually,
But they do.
Can I say something funny? I told someone, because they said, when will you agree? So I reversed the argument to make my point. They said, when will you support marijuana? And I said, when health profession, when educators and law enforcement agree that it's okay. And they looked at me with a straight face and said, that's the last people you should be listening to on this issue.
That was me.
I tried to expunge it from my memory because I thought I give you way too much credit to say something that's stupid.
No, educators are largely idiotic outside of their field of education. Absolutely. Law enforcement lies constantly and making
incentivized to keep it illegal.
Absolutely. Imagine the number of bonuses that go down when they don't come in with 100-pound weed bust. Are you kidding me? And legislators are the dumbest people on the planet by and large.
I sent you the article talking about right now, Chicago or Illinois. They're in the process of trying to decide what they're going to do with 800,000 marijuana-related charges because now they're faced with an issue. Well, now that it's legal, how do we deal with these people who are
currently incarcerated? That's right.
Tim,
so
was the guy you talked to Doug Lamborn?
So that they can have 1 year incarcerated instead of 10. They plead down from a violent crime to a lesser crime. We're going to let them out too, by the way, because they were technically convicted of just dealing a little bit of pot, even though they held a knife to a person's throat.
That's the rules of the game we play. That's prosecutorial discretion.
Right. Tim.
Yeah.
Was the guy you talked to in Colorado Doug Lamborn?
I don't even know who that is.
I was just curious. So Doug Lamborn came out and said cartels are running Colorado weed dispensaries. One, that isn't true. Weed dispensaries in Colorado are licensed by the state, and they're not cartel run. What you're conflating that, or whoever's telling you is conflating that with them buying homes to make homegrown operations to sell black market weed, right?
No.
It is true. There are 650 illegal growing operations in Colorado identified by the DEA, and not one of them is connected to a cartel. Zero.
And so
they have no evidence of it.
But he opened up another discussion I want to bring up real quick. So once again, our generation is trying to fix the crap storm that the boomers have left for us. One of the big ones. Huh?
No, go ahead. I won't start it yet. Keep going.
One of the big ones. No, he's not going to be able to start because I'm about to give him a chance to talk. And,
okay.
Legislators will never get an opportunity to talk. So, talk about the border. Talk about the fact that you guys have been kicking this can down the road, knowing that there was an issue on the border, but because back in the day when you could get, huh? I'm talking about his generation that hasn't held their government feet to the fire to deal with it. I'm talking about that generation. We've had issue on the border for decades. Okay, sorry guys. Decades we've had these issues. But now we're just now actually talking about it because there's some political points to be gained from having the discussion. So tell me, what's the solution there?
Okay, so pause button for a second. Black Nick, how old is your kid?
4.5.
Okay, I can't wait for about 30 years from now when it's going to say, Uncle Q, You bastard, this is how you ruin the nation and my whole life, you dirty dog, you. What you needed is rather than pushing government away, you should have embraced it. Now we're all ruined because of your crazy, what did they used to call that back in the day? Libertarian, you psycho pig, you. That's what you're going to get, by the way. Okay.
I'm 35.
So here's the funny
So 30 years from now, when I'm a boomer and I'm 65, she's going to hug me. And she's like, thank you. Thank you for fixing.
I'm going to give you the solution, and then you're going to start yelling at me. So we'll do it in that order, okay?
Okay,
and I'm telling you, I know you're going to yell at me because either you have before, or Nick has, or all of you in this room have at some point in time. And I know how this response happens because this is the response that I've given the libertarians time and again. You know how you fix the problem? Number one, agree with Trump, you build the wall, okay? Now that's more than building a wall, but we'll call it figuratively building the wall, basically monitoring who's coming over. Now the reason why we're talking about building a wall to the south and not to the north, first of all, east and west, we have oceans, so that is a wall. Okay, but the reason why we're talking about the south is because of the nefarious activity that's happening coming from the south. Not
the cartels rushing in, not the dispensaries.
Yeah, that's right. Not the wives and kids, but not the story that's being told of a young couple that has, you know, a 4 and 6 year old kid and they just want the American way sort of thing. That's not the problem that we're talking about. We're talking about the people that are exploiting the system as it is right now for things that aren't good. That's why you build the wall. So you literally build the wall, but you also have to do things to basically secure the border, okay? And be firm with that. When people come up through South America and Central America up through Mexico, you have to say no. So like that caravan, absolutely shut them out, okay? Now the next part is I have people all the time say, and send everyone that's illegal back. Well, first of all, there's no such thing as back for most of them. But let's just go, we send them back. Let's just say we do that. There is a back, and we send them back. Okay, do you give them any due process whatsoever? Because if you do, understand you're talking about 12 million people, they say, so the number might be bigger, probably bigger, because when is a number ever smaller than what they say? But let's use the number 12 million illegal immigrants here in the United States, okay?
Well, quick Google it.
Of all
I'm sure it'll give you the numbers.
That's right. But the number that I've heard consistently is 12 million. Whatever the number is, 12 million is a pretty big number, especially when you do this math. Now, I've had people say, ship them back. Okay, so let's say you use, I'm going to use buses because that seems to be the most humane, and you start talking about using trains and it sounds a lot like boxcars in Germany. Okay, so we're not going there. Okay, let's say those are not. That's an AOC BS stuff. So you bus them back. Start doing the math on your calculator. As studies show how many buses it takes to bus 12 million people. But also understand that we're the United States and we're going to give them some sort of due process. I don't care if it's rudimentary or it's quick or it's expedited or whatever. You're going to have a mess on your hands for the next 10, 20, 30 years. Here's another thing that you have when you send people back. So there was someone I was told, and I think I know probably where it is, but I don't know for sure, but there's quote unquote someone that owns a restaurant here in our hometown that is an illegal immigrant and they own a business. Ship them back twice because that's even worse. How did they ever get that business? Okay. Well, here's the deal. They probably have a mortgage on that. Now they probably got it if they have an illegal Social Security number. This is all illegal. I get it. Okay. I get it. But you shut down that business. What do you do about that property? What do you do about that mortgage? What do you do about the lives that are impacted by that are surrounding them and stuff like that? No easy task. You can say, well, that's just the price that they pay for doing something illegal. Our society is not going to stand for it. So that's a long drawn out thing to say is that when you say people like me say build the wall, but understand you have to address the individuals are here and basically find a pathway to which they can legally live here on the ones that should. This is going to be a big enough mess to deal with anyway. Nick is falling asleep listening to me.
No, I'm not.
It's going to be a big enough mess trying to deal with this, but to deal with the mess that was created by both parties over decades, I agree with you 100%, okay? So you can talk about the past and say whose fault this is and how they created this, but then you eventually have to say, here's what the solution is. So the solution is you have to have a method by which you get the nefarious people that shouldn't be here, get them out of here. Okay, and if that has an impact on families, that was their decision, not yours. But we are going to have to find a pathway to legally document the people that are productive on the society. Now, one reason why we have illegal immigration and why both parties, one of the dirtiest secrets that they will not talk about why both parties have agreed to this is because we need labor. Now, why do we need labor? Two reasons. Number one, is you and me. Number one, you and me are way too pristine to ever want to do a dirty job that they're willing to do. And number two, we killed about 60 million people that should have been populating this nation, and they're all dead and gone. So we have to bring in immigration to address our labor workforce. What's that?
Aren't those mostly inner city people, though?
Maybe they are, but they're gainfully employable, okay? There's always this presumption that a baby was aborted because they would have been.
The reason why we have a labor shortage is because we took away people's right to starve.
Well, actually, there's probably an argument there too, but that would not account for all. That would not account for our entire. How
many people are living on the system?
Not enough to fully employ what we need. We are short. That's why we are taking immigration.
Did you get those numbers on Google too?
In the immigration process, because in politics you want to build constituencies, people have misled those constituencies on immigration to believe that they can give them, whether it's a better way of life or having power over this or power over that. They have lied to a lot of these people, and that's where immigration process has been bad also. You know why we have illegal. Let me finish this, then you can talk. The reason why we have illegal immigrants is because people want them here. Okay. That's why we have them here, because people want them here.
Hold on. So let's have a legit conversation here.
That was illegitimate to this point?
Well, it has been in a lot of ways, because there's a lot of things you haven't addressed. You raised some questions, but you cannot tell me that between the people who are cheating the welfare system and living off of the system, for whatever reason, maybe because they say that in the state of Minnesota, you have to make a minimum of $18 an hour in order to live a life that is similar to what you can live by living on the system.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
So
I saw something attached. It was about 3 years old. Sorry, Nick, but it was an income of about, Minnesota was at about 29,000 a year. But I think that was presuming healthcare was added onto it.
Okay, so you have people living off the system, and then you have people that are in jail. How many people are living in jail for petty situations?
Prison or jail? Wait, hold on. Describe.
Well,
no, there's a difference.
Up. Let's just say locked up.
No, there's a big difference.
They're incarcerated. How many people that are incarcerated right now that could also be helping with those labor
Zero.
shortages?
If you're going to go with your premise of what you just said, if you are in jail, it's because you committed a crime. Don't give me this. Oh, there are sure, but sure. You're going to give me some stories, but by and large,
the only storytelling boomer here is you.
By and large, people that are in jails because they did something wrong. Now, some people say, well, it's not that big of a deal what they did. Well, then don't do it. Okay, one of the biggest things when you're in public safety and you hear you should not incarcerate low-level drug crimes. Low-level drug crimes aren't incarcerated in Minnesota. What are you talking about?
Well,
yes, they are.
No, they're on probation.
Okay, so let's back up here. So you're going to tell me 5 minutes ago that, there's people who own a business that are paying a loan on that business. They have mortgages and those types of things. And you're going to play me this.
No, I'm not whining about it. Who's going to pay that bank?
But yet you have a guy
who's going to pay the bank,
trying to provide for his family, and he comes home, smokes some weed because he's trying to relax. But you put that guy in jail.
He's not in jail. That's the whole fallacy.
He is.
No, he's not. Oh my God. You guys, okay, I have people that are related to me that have criminal histories. And what I've been shocked by, and then I'm on public safety, so
one of these days you're going to realize that the laws. One of these days you're also going to realize, no offense, but one of these days you're going to realize that the laws for people who look like you and the laws for people who look like me are slightly different.
I am telling you
Go
that
ahead.
we put people on probation. If someone is in, that's what I said, especially prison. Now, jail, you might have someone that's in there for a month. And you say, well, what's the big deal? They just smoke some weed. Then don't smoke the weed. Okay? But if you're in prison in Minnesota, to get in there, you have to basically.
Yeah. There's this unjust law. Just don't do the thing. It's completely unjust. Just don't do it.
So
What's
you're
the big
saying,
deal?
if someone does something that's illegal, we should just let them do it anyway. Is that
No,
what you're
I'm
arguing?
saying it should be legal.
You
Then
literally
Nick-
just you
then
literally
Nick-
just said that if somebody is here illegally, that some of them should be able to stay. So
No,
is that not breaking the law?
some of them should have a process.
You made an argument.
That was not my
it was
argument.
going to- no. I'm
That
going to
wasn't
get to your
my
argument.
argument.
Your argument was that sending these people back was not going to work, even though it's costing the taxpayer in the United States over $200 billion a year to have those people here, by and large. Are you telling me we can't send people back for $250 billion?
I'm telling you that it is impractical. You are going to have to.
So now
do
it's
the unholy-
practicality.
No, we're not talking
So now
like,
it's practical.
oh, this is an
So
inconvenience. I'm saying
before it was
something like this.
absolutely, if you break the law, you should go to jail. But that's only if you what?
If you break
Are
the
an American
law, you
citizen?
should pay the penalty. I actually addressed this marijuana. You'd be surprised.
We're not talking about marijuana. We're talking about immigration now.
Okay, which one? You keep dancing back and forth. So we're talking
That's
immigration.
because,
Okay,
that's because we're
immigration.
talking about the inconsistencies in your argument.
You had said that there's people in jail because of quote unquote low level drug crimes, and everyone
Okay,
presumes that means
Nick,
marijuana.
Nick, have you ever had to try to keep somebody out of jail because of a low-level drug offense?
Yeah, I had to try and keep somebody out of a felony charge, which would have been 3 to 5 years in state prison for possession of a legal substance, because they can't figure out how to make a legal substance legal, and they're confusing it with a illegal substance that should be legal.
Give me the example.
CBD oil.
Yeah, so that's a process of CBD oil would be. an
That's a
example.
process of you guys having a drug task force that is searching for marijuana so hard that they took 9 officers, raided a house for 6 hours, walked out with a vial of CBD oil that you can buy at the store a block away from the courthouse, and tried to put a felony charge on these people, forced them to pay me. They had to pay for their own drug testing for 6 months. That's, by the way, when we're talking about poor people, $400 a month to pay for your own drug testing for that legal substance that the cops took. Oh, they also took all their guns and tried to charge them with a gross misdemeanor that they actually ended up having to plead guilty to, because the cops got them to admit to something that they did 20 years prior, which was smoked weed 20 years ago. And the way the cop asked the question made it sound like they were smoking weed that week. But just remember, it's just don't smoke the weed. Oh, they didn't. They didn't just smoke the weed. And this guy had to plead guilty.
Just don't smoke the weed.
This guy had to plead guilty to a gross misdemeanor. Otherwise, he would go to prison, state prison, for a year on that charge, plus up to 3 years for the legal substance. And that legal substance was the target, because there's a drug task force that just doesn't care about that petty non-criminal marijuana so much that they sent so many officers to this house, turned their entire lives upside down. I can do the sob story too, and it was all 3 people in the same household. They took.
It was his fault because he didn't obey. He should have obeyed the government.
The state took.
Let me know when you're done.
The state.
I can respond. I'll let you keep going.
Good. The state took $900 a month from this household. They took $900 a month for these people who were presumed innocent to maintain that they were innocent and stay out of jail for non-criminal stuff that is related to a non-criminalized substance. The problem isn't the criminalization of the substance. A big part of the problem is the process that it takes for us to just prove that we're not committing the crime just because some dummy in a uniform says that we committed a crime when they were wrong. Oh, and the cop administered the wrong drug test on the substance as well. You know, he kind of tried to gloss over that, and the stupid state paid attorney tried to make the argument that it must have been a typo, even though a typo of 3 to 9 is pretty different. It's not like they fat fingered that one. They shoved their whole stupid face on the keyboard while typing up that report. This is a drug recognition expert and a drug task force member who typed it. This is the pinnacle of training in the state on the issue. The best of the best. He has all of the certifications, and he misidentified a legal substance. And then the state attorney was like, well, I don't even know. That's how dumb this stuff is, Tim. This is the real impact to people. Like you're talking, oh, they have a business. Oh, these are two people minding their own business with a legal substance in their house, and they get treated like felonies for 6 months and have to pay to defend themselves an absurd amount of money. And my rate was cheap, by the way. I took that case at such a discount that it was stupid, but they had to pay Minnesota $900 a month. Probably twice as much as their mortgage. But just don't do it, right?
Is it my turn?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I wanted to make sure I didn't jump the. So my question to you is should that be changed?
Yes, if
Then
weed were legal.
it. My God, you guys.
You're the guy in office.
You to change it. Change it.
So here's the funny thing is you guys are all over, but guess what? Now all of a sudden, I'm the elected official that you expect to do the things that you just 15 minutes ago told me to stop getting into people's lives.
No, we're trying to be the guy that you heard the thing from in Colorado. But you know us and you don't know that guy. Like, you don't know the guy in Colorado, but you believe him over these people that you've known for a decade or longer.
And if you go back to a guy in Colorado, I've actually studied Colorado. So that's why I say
it was two guys.
No, it's probably about half a dozen people plus studies. You guys, like I said, if you guys want to legalize marijuana, I have no idea what you're going to bitch about after marijuana is legal in Minnesota.
Oh, believe me, we got plenty.
Oh, we got a list.
I don't believe it at all. I just do not believe it because you have nothing else to say. Well, you don't support marijuana, damn it.
We just need the weed to cope.
It's just the most obvious and egregious aspect of it right now. We're trying to. We have right now 3 people trying to tell you, desperately trying to tell you, and the one guy in the room who has any appreciable impact on it. We're all desperately trying to tell you, and then your answer is, you do it. We're doing it right now.
Actually, no. I said I'm going to vote no. So if you don't like that answer, then do something about it.
I can't vote you out. I'm not in your district.
That's why he doesn't like you, because you can't vote for him anyway. He's pandering to black.
Actually, I'm supposed to pander to my voters. That's who I'm supposed to pander to.
Yeah, I'm saying he's pandering to Blackface thing. So good job.
I don't think I won his vote on this stuff.
Wait, Soder, aren't you?
You doxing me now too?
No, I said Soder, aren't you in his district?
Yeah, that's
I have a huge district that you just described about.
Okay, yeah.
You just described about 250 square miles.
Hey, I want you to pander a little bit more to Soder too. Let's get some pandering going on.
Well, and actually, here's the other thing that is just, and I kind of said this when it comes to legalizing marijuana in Minnesota. You want to talk about pandering to my voters? In my district, just talking my district, because it will be different numbers. I've never seen the numbers. I'm not going to Google the numbers. I'm not going to do anything like that. Okay? I am fairly confident, at the very least, that the majority of my voters want me to vote no on marijuana. I would argue that it's probably well north of 65%. I would argue that it probably is. I couldn't tell you the exact number. So I am actually doing the work that I'm supposed to be doing. When it comes to legalizing gambling, same thing. I guarantee you that I am voting my district on expanding. Now there may come a time where that's no longer the case. I think I'll be long gone from office way before that. I don't think I have no intent. One of the funny things is I've been wanting to say this about 4 or 5 times. So I've been in office for 5 years, and I went into office to fight the man And in 5 years,
You became the man.
I haven't become the man, but because I'm in office for 5 years, I've become the man as far as people go. So that's why I also laughed that eventually one day when Q is in office, he's going to be the man. And when you say, oh, no, I won't, I'm telling you, you're going to eventually be the man to someone because you're in
To
office.
beat the man, you gotta be the man.
All right, Tim. Tell Dave Baker that I'm voting Democrat.
Okay.
Because I don't know him.
I think, in fairness to Dave, I honestly don't know which side he stands on this.
Oh, come on.
No, I serious as a heart attack. I do not know. Dave stands on opioids. I guarantee, Dave.
Oh,
no, that's right. You're right. Because the opioids, he's against it. That's right. You're right.
Yep.
He did say that. You're right. Now I'm getting back.
Tell him he belongs out of office. Tell him he belongs in rags on the street.
Why would I tell him that?
I don't know, because I'm trying to get him to change.
Well, then you need to get him to change.
No way. You told me to get somebody else to do it. Yeah, you did. Because you said you're voting no. So now I'm trying to
get another representative. Get another. We're just evolving here.
I didn't think you believed in evolution. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
All right.
And we jump into the new subject. I think we have to get close to wrapping it up for now.
We got to get close to wrapping it up. Boomers go to bed early, so we don't want to keep Tim up much longer.
I'm tired.
But hey, all jokes to the side, I want to thank both Nicks for being here today. Tim, I know we talk tough. We really do appreciate you. And it's not easy to come in here and be abused from 3 different directions. So we appreciate you standing your ground. You got to stand for something or you're falling for anything.
Yeah, you might need to make Minnesota a stand your ground state while you're in there.
Oh,
I was the co-author on that.
I'm just razzing you now.
So, but no, I do appreciate every one of you guys. Hey, as always, I can always say, guys, at the end of the day, we can all respect each other. The one thing that we must bring back to our country is the ability to respectfully disagree, to be able to have conversation, to hear each other out. We might not change, but at least we can help each other understand where we're coming from. And sometimes we do change. Sometimes we do. But the goal should not necessarily be to change someone, but to rather educate each other and to care for each other. So thank you guys very much. We didn't get a chance to talk as much about how I blame the boomers for putting us in the mess that we are in. Oh no, I had a whole list of things. Things like, the fact that we left the gold standard, the fact that our currency is fiat, the fact that.
By the way, I don't even know what fiat means, so I must have done it.
Yeah,
oh my
God. Fiat is a car.
How can I craft this into a bridge I can jump off of?
What's a fiat? Tell me a wise one.
A Fiat's a crappy little car that's gone, thank God.
I think aren't they still around?
People trade them for money. That's what they do. When you go to the grocery store, you take that little Fiat. That's why they're so small, so you can fit them in your pocket. So when you go to the grocery store, you can trade them for bread.
1980s.
Talk about runaway welfare. We could talk about that, and we could also talk about the Social Security system, the social programs that have been put in place that have been left greatly unchecked. And then I also, because we're having some boomer issues, and we'll get off before you get a chance to discuss this. But let's be honest, the biggest insurer in the United States is Medicare and Medicaid, by far, okay? The real issue with runaway drug prices is that those 2 systems do not negotiate drug prices. So if you were playing, well, not you, but the government plays loose and free with the taxpayer money, there's a reason why the most wealthy counties in the United States are not in New York on Wall Street or in California, in Southern California, not even in Northern California. They are the counties surrounding Washington, D.C. They don't produce anything. They don't grow anything, but it is being close to that center of power that has made people very wealthy. That is the real issue. The real issue is that we've taken the importance from growing things and producing things, and the real power comes from regulating things. But that's a discussion that we can have at another time. But thank you, everyone, for joining Out of the Darkness. We appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate our distinguished guests. I also want to make sure that if you have not subscribed to the channel, be sure to press subscribe. I promise you, we are getting these boomer issues figured. We are going to give you a much higher production.
Don't promise what you can't deliver on, buddy.
Well, I promise you we'll get these technical issues ironed out. But thank you for sticking with us. Nick, thank you for being here. I know you have a lot going on, but thank you for joining us.
You give me the opportunity to yell at my government directly. What better place would I have to be? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, I'll have to make sure we get Dave Baker on here.
Oh my God, that sounds like a disaster.
Oh, no. We need to get Dave Baker on here because I think it would be a very interesting show. Dave is probably one of the most charismatic individuals I've had the privilege of getting to meet. So I think he'd be a fun show. It'd be even better if we had both of you guys. That'd be fantastic. Let's work on that. So
That's almost a voting quorum in this state.
But thank you guys very much. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, and we are getting closer and closer to that 240,000 minutes of views. So thank you guys for that. So once again, have a great week. We're going to continue to put out more content, and we will see you guys next Sunday. Be blessed.
Happy 4th of July.
Peace.